Today we're going to do a laminate installation, and I'm going to go through the process of the layout, and I'm going to show you some things after that on how I do the installation process throughout this area here. What we have here is we have a living room, we have a hallway, and we have an entry, type of an entry. We've got a lot of jogs in and out in this place, and so it's really going to be difficult to try to find a even number for your plank size on the cut ends. And what I mean by that is, if you have a square room, you could do this where you could have an even side plank on each side. And I kind of want to figure out, how can I get down to the hallway, and can I make my plank even on both sides in the hallway where it's running down the hall without having a sliver somewhere else in too many areas. And so we're going to kind of go through that right now, and I'm going to talk about layout with you as far as that goes. First thing you want to do is you want to make yourself a cheat sheet. Now, I didn't really draw this out with exact numbers here. I'm just giving you an example here, but if you have a 5-inch plank, for instance, you just make a cheat sheet of the numbers and all the way to the longest point of your room. As far as the width goes, if you're going to lay the plank, figure out the longest of the width, not the length of the plank. So I went 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Okay, so this is just an example. It's a nice even number. Or if you had a 5 1/4, 5 1/4, 10 1/2, 15 3/4, and so on. So you kind of get the idea here of what I'm talking about. And so that's the process that you're going to want to go through first. It's going to take some addition. And if you have a plank that, like ours, which is a 5 5/16 plank, well, that's a 5.3125 if you convert that to a decimal point. And you can go to a website online and you can get inches to decimal point chart online and get that, so that you have that, so that you know, okay, how big is 5/16 of an inch if I convert that to a decimal. So go on there, and that's going to make your job a lot easier to be able to do this math and figure this out. And so I did draw up a cheat sheet that we have, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure and see from this main wall is where I'm going to go off of. And first of all, let me explain to you that we have all of the laminate pad down in this installation right now, and one of the reasons why is because this had flooring down underneath that had a dark glue, and it's really hard to see. And for filming process, or for filming purposes, I put the pad down. Now normally you'd only do one row of pad at a time. And so I don't want you to get home and then all of a sudden start laying out all the pad right away, because that's what you've seen on the video here. So that's why we have the pad all the way down everywhere throughout. But anyway, this is my main wall that I'm going to come off of and start off of, and that's what I decided. So I measure from this wall to the corner, and I come up with about 120 inches. And so what I can do is I can go to my cheat sheet right away, and I can see, if I look on my cheat sheet, where 120 is. Well, one of my planks ends at 118 and 15/16. So right there is where my plank ends, right there, and then I have another one that begins there and will end out here at 124 1/4. So I can make a mark right there. So I already know that on this piece right here, I'm going to have about a 4-inch plank. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come over here a little bit, and this isn't going to be perfectly straight here, so I'm kind of guessing a little bit just by looking. It's not an exact measurement right this second. Okay, so I put my tape measure on that mark that we made down there, and now I'm going to measure down here, and if I get all the way to right here, I'm looking at about 159 would be over. So that's one of my numbers on my cheat sheet, and so it would be 159 3/8. So my plank would end right about in here. Well, I'm going to come back one, and I'm going to make a mark, and it would be 154 1/16. So that's where my plank would end. So you can see how nice this cheat sheet is if you take the time to make it. So I got about a 4 5/8 inch piece. Well, I know this is pretty straight, so I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to measure 4 5/8. And now I'm going to check to see how far. That's 34 inches. If I go back to my cheat sheet, I can see that Well, 31 7/8. I've got a plank that would end right there. So I'd have about a 4-inch piece here and about a 3-inch piece there. Okay, so you can see how nice this cheat sheet is by being able to kind of run around the way that I did. The time was that I put into the writing down the numbers on the cheat sheet. Once you get to that, then it's a breeze to figure out the layout. So I just want to tell you, take the time and make the cheat sheet. I have a bunch more jogs in here now, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to see, okay, where does this end? If I wanted to center this hallway, well, if I have a 3-inch piece here and a 4 and a 5/8-inch piece there, I could slide this over to center it. So I'd probably move it over about a 1/2 inch, and that would give me 3.5 there, 4 there. So I'll slide it over another 1/4 inch, and I'll have 3 3/4 on both sides. If you need to, you can just lay your plank right here where you know it's going to end. That's where I drew the number. And just lay it down. And now what you can do is say, okay, how can I even this out if you don't want to do the math? It's 3 inches now and 4 5/8. So if I slid this over a 1/2 inch to 4, and then I slid this over, it'd be 3.5, a 1/2 inch. So then I'd make it another 1/4 and slide this over a 1/4. Now I'm centered, and you can double check by looking at what the number is in between. And I got 3 planks at 21 1/4, so I'm pretty close. You can see there. That's if I could center the hallway. I've kind of went through this job already, and I know I can't center the hallway because I have too many jogs here and there, and I would end up with some slivers in a few different spots if I tried to center the hallway. So the best way that I came up with is that on my starter row, I'm going to end up taking 2 inches off. That's going to kind of give me a little bit of a off center in here, and it's going to give me a smaller piece along a wall over here where the door is that's crooked, but that's how I'm going to do it. But you can see I can just go through this real quick right now and see that from there to there it's 187, and I can figure out my number off my cheat sheet just by looking to see where it would end. So even if I did this, I know that off my cheat sheet, even if I didn't run it all the way like I said, I could make a mark at one of my biggest numbers, 129. Now come back up here again and just add from that mark what your next one would be. Well, mine's 57 and 3/16, so I'd end up having just barely not enough to get in there. And so you can kind of just go around just by doing that. I mean, you can go around everywhere in this room off this main wall that you're going to go with your cheat sheet and measure to see how big your plank is. So go with that cheat sheet. That's the way you're going to want to go. The other thing that you can do on this layout is to get your number for your board that you're going to need before you make your cheat sheet is you can put together several planks. I put together about anywhere from 5 to 10 just to try to make sure that I'm getting the correct size for my plank size. A 32nd of an inch can really throw you off if you're going across the room 30 planks. Well, a 32nd of an inch, that can throw you off almost an inch just in 30 planks. Well, in 32 it can throw you off a full inch. So you want to make sure that you just check it by doing kind of what I did here. I've got about 6 planks here so far. I'm going to add about 4 more and just double check with my number on my cheat sheet to make sure I'm doing the right thing. But I also can just take my tape measure and measure straight across now and try to get my numbers just by lining up these lines here. And so that's one of the ways that you're going to want to do this, by trying to find out what your cheat sheet numbers are going to be.